Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Medicine Makers, where if your destination is a career in medicine, we're going to show you how to get there. I am Dr. Lamenta Sweetie Conway. I am your host and also the founder of I Am Abel Foundation.
And hi, I am your co-host, Attorney Christian A. Conway, and today we are happy to have Attorney Nicole Kane from the law offices of Nicole T. Kane, and we are happy to be focusing on the intersectionality between law and health. Specifically, we'll be talking about disability law, disability rights, and your rights here today.
And remember, you can right now watch us live at cantv.org/hotline. You can also, that's for streaming, but you can also tune in on channel 21 or channel 99, which you might be doing right now. So just want to let you know that. And also remember that you can call in live if you have questions about disability. We're going to have a great show today. Get your questions ready. We got some answers for you. You can call 312-738-1060. Again, 312-738-1060 with your questions.
And we also invite you to please like, comment, share this streaming live on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All of your social media handles, we want you guys to be publicizing what I Am Able is doing here today on CAN TV.
And also, we want to let you know, I Am Abel Foundation in general, our whole mission is to raise up the next generation of healthcare heroes. So if you have a young person out there in the community that is interested in becoming a doctor or exploring other areas in healthcare, go to www.iamabel.org. Again, www.iamabel.org. That's I Am Able, Able with an E. And you'll have an opportunity to learn so much about what we're doing. It's been completely impactful. We're working with high school, college, and post-bac students who are interested in, more specifically, in becoming physicians. And we're even working with the young people as well.
And before we turn to our topic, we want to tell you guys about what we did this weekend. We had a really exciting weekend this past weekend. We worked with 5th through 8th grade boys, and you would not believe how much fun we had. We actually got a chance because we're grateful to Loyola for allowing us to have an all-day basketball tournament with 5th through 8th grade boys. And what did we do there? Not only did they play basketball all day in an exciting competitive tournament, they also over the lunchtime hour were able to learn and see cadavers, to learn how to suture. They took blood pressure. They did active CPR. They were just as excited about learning about the human body in the healthcare system as they were about competing in this wonderful basketball tournament. So we would like you guys to see just a little bit of the fun that we had this weekend, and we hope that one day you will join us.
Take full advantage of it because you don't know what you want.
Systolic and diastolic. The heart is pumping, it's systole, relaxing, and diastolic. I want you guys that are up front here, feel the back of his knee, the top of his knee.
Grab this end.
Be careful how you move them because you can do permanent damage.
An important thing you also have to remember is that after we check to make sure the scene is safe, and you check and see what's going on with that person, call 911 immediately. That's like the number one thing. Time is of the essence.
So as you can see, we had a ton of fun with the little kids over the weekend, and you know we gotta get in where we fit in. So with these young boys, we got to get their attention. As some of you may know, we have a health crisis that is ahead of us, and minority men, in particular, Black men, have a lot of mistrust, which is very well earned for the healthcare system. And we've just got to get them trained up and prepared so that they can be our next generation of healthcare heroes. And that's what this whole event was about, and it's one of many things that we're doing at I Am Abel Foundation. So go to our website, www.iamabel.org, to learn more about how your young person can explore careers in medicine. But today, we have something more interesting, or as interesting, to talk about, because today we're talking, as you mentioned, Christian, about the intersection of healthcare and law.
And a lot of people don't understand. They say, I want to grow up to be a doctor or a lawyer. A lot of the times being a doctor and a lawyer, they coincide, they intersect.
So much.
There's a huge intersection, and I am completely fascinated with this topic. As a daughter of a doctor and a lawyer myself, I see so many times where the two worlds collide, and that is what inspired this segment. So today, as I previously stated, we are being joined by attorney Nicole Kane, and we are specifically going to be talking about the intersection of health and law and disability law. So, Attorney Kane, what is disability law?
First, I'd like to say thank you for having me today.
Oh, so glad to have
Very
you.
excited to be here to share some information. And like you said, disability law is one of the areas where healthcare and the legal system collide. It's a branch of the legal system that's really designed to work with people that have sustained long-term injuries or who are dealing with illness and other chronic conditions that may prevent them from working or working enough to generate an income that can adequately support themselves and their family. So in comes disability law, and it sort of enables these injured or ill individuals to seek help from the government to drastically improve the quality of life that they're able to live with their disabilities, even if they can't work.
Right.
Okay, and what about Social Security? Can you tell us how does Social Security and Social Security disability insurance, what is that
Sure.
for everyone who's listening?
Sure. Social Security is one of the biggest aspects of disability law, and they are federally supported programs that will offer assistance to people who qualify for those benefits under various parameters that are set by the Social Security Administration. There are two main groups. First, you want to look at Social Security disability insurance. So, Social Security disability insurance is a federal program. It pays benefits to individuals who have worked and they can no longer perform that work due to certain medical conditions. This is a disability insurance, so it's funded through the FICA Social Security payroll taxes, and it's a program that's available to individuals under the age of 65 who've done an adequate amount of work before the disabling condition made it so they could no longer work. You want to compare that with what's known as SSI. That's a supplemental security income program, and that is needs-based. It's funded by the General Tax Fund, and it's designed to help people who are aged, blind, or disabled, who have little or no income. They haven't paid into the Social Security disability insurance program, but they also need some assistance to meet their basic needs, for food, clothing, and shelter. And those are two of the main programs people think about when they think about Social Security disability.
And how does one qualify for both of those programs?
Well, Social Security disability, in order to qualify for disability insurance, you have to work long enough, first of all, where you pay Social Security taxes. And once you become disabled, if you have enough what we call credits or quarters, and if you're under the age of 65, and if you have a qualifying condition, you may be able to receive those benefits. Again, with SSI, you have to be an individual who is aged, disabled, or blind, and you would be eligible for those benefits if you cannot perform what's the term used as substantial gainful activity, and you do need that assistance. So there, one program is sort of needs-based. One is based on whether or not you've performed the requisite work activity at some point in your life. The amount of work activity you would need to have performed will vary based on your age, where you are in your career. And so what you would want to do is consult with the Social Security Administration or an attorney, and they can help you determine whether or not you qualify for one of those programs.
I find that kind of interesting because I don't think as a physician that I realized that there were two separate programs. So there's a disability insurance perspective, and then there is just a needs base, as you indicated, which sometimes might apply to maybe children who are born handicapped, for example.
And if you are an individual, and if you have a parent who's a recipient of benefits, or if you have a parent who's deceased, or if you're a young person under the age of 22 with certain disabling conditions, you may also qualify for benefits. That's correct.
And so I'm pretty sure a lot of people on here would like to know, how does an attorney like yourself help a layperson per se operate this difficult field?
Well, I don't think it's a secret that the Social Security, the process itself can be very intimidating. It can often be a lengthy process. And so the benefit of having an attorney there to support you is the attorney can sort of navigate you through the program, help explain some of the forms that you have to fill out when necessary. And what's most important is Social Security claims they have to be backed by certain medical evidence, and you will need that assistance from an attorney who can help you gather the appropriate evidence while your claim is being processed.
Okay, you know what? This is a hot topic for many of our listeners out there, and I believe that we have a caller. A caller, if you're on the air, would you give us your question? If a caller is, okay, caller, are you on the air?
Yes, I am.
Okay, go ahead with your question, please.
Can the attorney please explain to me a little bit more about the quarters that she just mentioned? I'm considering disability. I'm having some issues with working. I am under 65. So can she explain a little bit more about the quarters, please?
Thank you so much. That was actually one of my questions too.
Yeah.
Talk about the quarters.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So when you talk about quarters to qualify for Social Security disability insurance, you had to have worked a requisite number of years in the recent past in order to qualify for benefits. And I believe the caller who just said she was under 65.
Yes.
So if she's over the age of 50 and under the age of 65, she will have need to have worked at least 5 of the last 10 years in order to qualify for disability insurance benefits. And she would be able to verify that she have the requisite quarters with the help of an attorney after filing that disability
So
application.
is that like 20 quarters?
I'm sorry?
Is that like 20 quarters?
Well, it depends. They don't necessarily count the quarter, sort of like half a year
Just
or
5
a quarter
years.
of a
Okay,
year.
gotcha.
Yeah. So, as a rule of thumb, you should have worked 5 of the last 10 years to have the requisite quarters. But that situation can change based on an individual's age. So it's very important to contact an attorney with your specific circumstances, and they can sort of guide you to which program you may be eligible for.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, a lot of people probably want to know what counts as a disability.
Yeah.
Is there a real answer to that? Is there an overarching answer to what is a disability? How do I know that I'm disabled?
Yeah.
Well, for the purposes of Social Security, they have their own definition of disability.
Yeah.
And that's something that's very important to remember as well. We're just talking about one program. There are various programs out there that offer various levels of support to individuals who cannot work for whatever reason. Now, the Social Security Administration, they have their own definition of Social Security, and that is sort of measured by a grid. Whether or not an individual is disabled is going to depend on various factors. The nature of the condition that they have, how long they've been out of work, what type of work they've performed in the past, your level of education, of course your age, whether or not you can adapt to other areas of work based on the skills that you have if you cannot return to your past work. So it's a moving definition that it's going to be a little bit different for everybody based on, all those factors that I just mentioned. Whereas you would compare that to other programs, veterans programs, etc. In the VA, they will have their own definition of disability. Again, that's why it's very difficult to give specific questions unless you're talking to an individual to really assess whether or not they're going to qualify under the administration. And that's one of the main things I see with potential clients. They get really frustrated because they feel, I can't do this, I can't do that, I'm disabled. And I see, John Doe, Jane Doe next door, and they're receiving benefits. And I, always have to remind them that the definition of disability, it's really going to depend on more factors than just, what you can see externally, what a person looks like, or what you think you should be, entitled to, or whether or not you feel you're disabled.
That makes sense.
I was going to ask you to talk a little bit about the importance of an attorney versus trying to navigate this on your own. And the reason why I just want to share a quick story is I had a patient, because I can really speak to what you're talking about, who it was a very heartfelt story of a gentleman who had developed throat cancer. And he could not eat. He could not swallow. He was unable to work. And he actually had to have a G-tube to be fed. I think most people, if they saw that in their mind's eye, they would think, this is a person, if anybody ever deserved it, he should get it. But what ended up happening with this gentleman, he had been denied, and then he ended up coming into the hospital and had an infected pancreatic pseudocyst that required him to be on vancomycin. And that vancomycin tripped him into renal failure, which required dialysis, and boom, then everything happened. And so I was troubled and puzzled by why this gentleman had to go into kidney failure but that was one of the criteria, at least at that time.
And was he a veteran?
He wasn't a veteran, actually. He was one of my patients on the west side when I was serving over there, and it just troubled me. And I know that I remember when he walked into my office and he says, "Dr. Conway, I'm giving up." And I didn't want him to, and then all of a sudden he got sick, and boom, So talk about, and he was trying to do it on his own.
And and really with that scenario, without even knowing any more particulars, you would have an individual who's been diagnosed with cancer, and that's a very scary diagnosis.
Sure enough.
And one would, automatically assume I must qualify for benefits.
You would think.
But if it's not expected that he'll be out of work for 12 months, or if this individual had transferable skills, had an extensive amount of education, there may have been work on the market that he could have performed, despite the fact that he had certain gastrointestinal issues, had difficulty chewing, swallowing, things like that. And so while it may seem drastic, legally he may not have been entitled to those benefits. And it took, that unfortunate turn of events where, according to the administration guidelines, now at this point, you can no longer work. There's no work that you can perform on the market. And so, and that can be one of the more difficult aspects of practicing this area of law, is just explaining that to people and communicating to them, what the next step should be, if they can't get benefits. And I believe, Dr. Conway, you had mentioned something about what an attorney can do. Just to briefly go back to that disability process, we all know it's very rare that you are approved for benefits.
How rare is it?
On an initial application.
Okay.
It may be, I believe it's at this point, maybe less than 30% of applicants are approved initially. And so when you have an attorney, when it's time to sort of appeal a denial, the attorney is going to be able to navigate through the process of gathering the medical evidence. Social Security, those benefits, absolutely. A claim has to be backed up by substantial medical evidence. And so you'll have an attorney who can communicate with your healthcare providers, gather the documentation, make sure it's submitted to the Social Security Administration on time. In the event that you get an unfavorable decision, an attorney is going to make sure that the appeal is filed on time. There are time constraints to pursuing your application before you have to start over. An attorney may be able to give you advice as to whether or not you have a spouse or dependents who are also eligible for benefits, and they will give you information and help you fill all of that out. And one thing we have to remember, why a lot of us do this work, there's always so much stress put on when you have a serious healthcare issue. And so do you want to have to navigate, a federal agency, deal with a lot of paperwork and gathering documents to submit? And it just relieves one of the stressors of the process if you have an attorney, an advocate, a representative, someone who's working to help you throughout the way.
You know how a personal injury attorneys, frequently there's no cost. Is this the same, or is there a cost for the attorneys typically?
Well, with many Social Security attorneys, like myself, we work on a contingency fee, and our fees are paid directly from the Social Security Administration. For instance, if I make a decision to take on a case, then my client would not have to pay me any fees up front. I would advocate for them through the end of their case, through an administrative hearing, if that's what it takes.
It's win-win, basically.
Yeah, win-win. And I don't receive a fee unless I'm able to get those benefits approved for my client.
Wow.
That's a really good question, Dr. Conway, because I know a lot of people, not only when they're sick, the money is tight, and so it's good to know that they can have access to legal representation and advocacy without having to worry about
how they're going to pay
how
for
they're
it.
going to pay for it. And just a quick question before you tell the listeners how we have a caller actually, so let's see if we can see who's on the line here.
Caller, we don't have much time, so give us your question quickly.
Thank you so much. She's
You're welcome.
actually answering the question as far as the cost for everything to start the process?
Are you asking, is there a cost to start the process?
Yes, I am.
Okay. No, well, with my firm and with Kane Disability, there is no cost to start the process. If you think that you have a viable claim, or if you have a claim and you've been denied, or if you have any general questions, feel free to reach out to me. My contact information is up there. It'll be on the screen shortly. But there are no upfront costs to file a disability claim. My firm does not charge any fees until I'm able to get you approved for benefits. So to answer your question, no, there are no upfront costs. There's nothing for you out of pocket to either apply for Social Security, appeal a decision, and you can appeal a decision all the way through to the Federal Appeals Council. And if you aren't successful, then you may have to move on to federal court, and that's a completely different conversation. But the initial disability application process itself and the appeals process, that's a cost-free process for you if you retain Kane Disability to help you with that.
And Kate, I know it's up there, but can you tell the listeners how they can reach you?
Absolutely. So I can be reached at area code 312-488-9019. Please feel free to leave a voicemail if we are unable to get to you. We will return that call within 72 hours. I can also be reached at www.kanedisability.com. There's contact information on my website. There's also a chat option if you need to chat live. Or you can email me, and my email address is on the screen, Nicole@NicoleTKaneLaw.com. That's Nicole with an H.
Great. I'm going to try to take that caller, but one quick question.
Yes.
You know, by the fact that the I Am Abel Foundation is all about raising up our next generation of healthcare heroes, we're, of course, medically focused. And I always find it so fascinating to see people from other professions who actually are very savvy in health, basically health-related knowledge. So tell us, how does an attorney who goes to school for law stuff gets all entangled in our medicine stuff?
Well, it just so happened, I worked for the state and state government for about 8 years.
Sure.
And 4 of those years I was with the Department of Human Services. And I dealt with appeals of state-issued Medicaid and Medicaid waiver programs. And through that employment, I got familiar with the Social Security Disability Grid and the Social Security Disability Program. And it's almost like I stumbled into this area of law, but I sort of had a knack for it and understanding, how I can be a legal advocate for people who were having healthcare issues. So while I don't necessarily have a medical background, but I sort of found that intersection, and I find it very interesting, and I'm more than happy to advocate for people who need that type of assistance. So if there may be clinics available in law school, or you may want to consider legal positions at, healthcare agencies or state agencies that handle healthcare related programs, and you can sort of explore how the law and the healthcare system collide.
We might get one caller. Is that okay with you?
One caller.
Okay, caller, if you're on there, it's got to be super quick.
Okay, yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, my question is about my mother. In her case, she was actually already approved for disability due to a condition that she had. She did end up having to fight it to get approved. But what we found interesting is that the judge showed her an amount that she should be eligible for on a monthly basis, and then told her that if she wanted to be approved, she would have to accept a lesser amount.
Wow. Thank you for your question, and we only have a couple of less than a minute, so give us a response to that. Thank you, caller.
Yeah, caller, why don't you go ahead and call my office or email out to us? There could be a couple different explanations. Gave you a solid answer on that, but I'd be more than happy to look into that situation. So you can give me a call at the contact information or reach out to me at the contact information you just saw on the screen. Excuse me.
Great question, and I hope, caller, you're able to get the help, and I'm sure Nicole will be happy to assist you.
Here.
And although we didn't really get a chance to get into how law students can get into the health law field. I'm sure, Nicole, if they reach out to you and have any questions.
Absolutely.
Great. I Am Able is all about mentoring. Not only are we trying to build the next generation of healthcare heroes, we want competent next generation lawyers, judges, engineers, everyone. So if you guys are interested in the healthcare field and how it intersects with law, please reach out to Nicole. And if she cannot help you, I'm sure she will extend to her wide network if you're interested in that field. So
Sounds good. I Am Able Law is coming in 2020, right behind I Am Able Medicine. I want to thank our beautiful attorney that came, and thank you, Attorney Christian Conway. This is I Am Able Foundation, Medicine Makers. See you next time.
see ya.